My true life story. I have a true story from real life. I was a direct witness to these events, so you could say this account comes firsthand. There once lived twin brothers, Igor and Boris. They were what people call inseparable, always together. They sat at the same desk in school, attended the same clubs, had identical haircuts, and always dressed alike. It started in childhood. At first, their parents bought them identical clothes because it was easier, and later, even as adults, they continued dressing the same. They loved when people couldn't tell them apart. Was it Boris or Igor? They worked together too, joining the same factory. When the Soviet Union collapsed, they left together and started trading at the market. Slowly, their business grew, and they transformed from simple market traders into mid-level businessmen with a large store in the city. They even got married on the same day. However, their children were different. Boris had 2 daughters, while Igor had 2 sons. One day, they traveled to China on a business trip, found suppliers there, and began regularly purchasing products for their store. They established a representative office in China and often traveled there together on business. Then one day, Boris returned home alone, explaining that Igor had to stay in China due to an overwhelming workload. They had decided that one of them would stay in China for 2 weeks while the other stayed home, and then they would switch places. This way, their families would miss them too much. It seemed odd but logical. They were opening their 3rd store in the city and preparing to expand their business to other cities. To ensure everything was running smoothly, such a schedule was necessary. Besides, 2 weeks wasn't long enough for their families to miss them terribly. For all the important moments in their children's lives, the fathers were always there. Luckily, their children were born in different years. Igor's sons were 2 and 4 years old, while Boris's daughters were 3 and 5 years old. So, for their kids' first day of school, graduation ceremonies, and all significant events, their fathers were always present, even when one father was away. The other always found time to visit his nieces or nephews, have a cup of tea, play games, or help with homework. For the kids, their uncle was a father on a smaller scale, while their real father was away. This went on for over 25 years. The children finished school, started their own families, and the twins were now nearing 60 years old, no longer young men. One evening, my wife's best friend, Igor's wife, ran into our house, asking for help and advice. My wife, unable to keep the secret, shared everything with me. The shocking revelation. On his birthday, one of the twins celebrated as usual with his family and his brother's family. However, Igor was supposedly in China at the time, and only Boris was present. When the guests, mainly their children and their children's families, had left, Igor's wife stayed behind to help Boris's wife clean up after the party. Boris then asked the women to sit down and listen. He began his story. 25 years ago, while they were in China, one of the twins was killed in an accident. A car hit him, and he died on the spot. The surviving brother buried his twin, but couldn't bring himself to tell the family that their father and husband was gone. So, he invented the story that one of them had to always stay in China while the other could be home. In reality, he bought a ticket to China, flew there, and immediately took a return flight back, pretending to be his twin returning home. Often, he didn't even fly. He just went to the airport, had a coffee, and then came back home as a different person. Neither their wives, children, nor friends ever noticed a switch. Thus, one brother lived 2 lives, 2 families. The children and wives believed their husband and father was simply away on business trips. After this shocking revelation, Igor's wife ran out of the house and came to us, the final secret. Later, I learned that the surviving brother never revealed his true identity, whether he was Boris or Igor. Even their wives never knew which husband was actually alive. As for their children, they still don't know the truth. To them and their grandchildren, both fathers are still alive.